Discover the moving story of Milo, a puppy less than 2 months old who was left behind, alone and terrified, with no one to protect him. He was abandoned in a desperate situation, unable to understand what had happened. His little life, which had barely begun, was plunged into a nightmare. Not knowing where to go, he wandered the streets until fate, cruel as it was, put him in an even worse situation. A pack of adult dogs found him. Instead of taking him in, they attacked him violently, and little Milo was trapped between their brutal attacks. Milo's barks of terror echoed through the streets, but tragically, no one seemed willing to help. He was completely at the mercy of a situation he had no control over. Fear and despair took over his little body, which trembled incessantly. What was left for him? Only the hope that somehow someone would save him from that hell. It was at this point that an urgent call came in, reporting a puppy in distress. When we arrived, we found Milo in a state of complete terror. His eyes, wide and filled with fear, told the story of an animal who had known only rejection and pain. He couldn't understand that his luck was finally changing. Despite the obvious trauma, we knew we couldn't leave him there. With great care, we were able to rescue Milo and take him to the vet for a full evaluation. To our relief, he had no serious injuries, which was a miracle in itself considering what he had been through. However, the real challenge was not his physical health, but the deep emotional scars he carried. Every gesture, every sound, made Milo cringe in fear, as if he expected the next tragedy to lurk. For 2 weeks, Milo was in intensive care, both physically and emotionally. The trauma he had endured was evident in every hesitant movement. He was terrified of everyone and everything, unsure of who to trust. But then something incredible began to happen. Little by little, little Milo began to understand that he was safe. His new reality, an environment of love and care, was starting to replace the horror he had experienced. When the time came to take him to his new home, we knew that Milo's journey to healing was still in its early stages. He was welcomed by a family who waited for him with patience and affection, ready to offer him the life he always deserved. At first, Milo was still visibly scared. His little eyes, full of caution, watched every movement with suspicion. It was as if he was trying to make sure that this time he really was safe. For the first 30 minutes in his new home, Milo fought against fatigue, as if his little body was still on constant alert. But eventually, he surrendered to the warm environment around him. His eyes closed and he fell into a deep sleep for the first time in a long time, without fear. It was the first sign that he was beginning to relax, to realize that this place and these people would not harm him. On the first day, Milo was still a shy and hesitant puppy. The trauma he had experienced would not disappear overnight. Every sudden sound made him jump, and he would always stay close to a corner, as if he needed refuge. However, the family that adopted him was willing to take the time necessary to help him overcome the past. With infinite patience, they approached him, respecting his space and offering affection as much as he felt comfortable accepting. Day by day, Milo began to change. His fears, which had previously seemed insurmountable, began to diminish, little by little. He began to observe his new family with curiosity, as if trying to understand what those gentle gestures and those soft voices meant. Each delicate touch, each loving word helped to break down the emotional barriers he had erected to protect himself. One day, almost by instinct, Milo wagged his tail for the first time. It was a hesitant, almost shy movement, but it was enough to fill the house with hope. That small gesture was a clear sign that he was beginning to trust again. His eyes, once filled with fear, now shone with a renewed curiosity and lightness. Milo was slowly discovering that love was possible. Over time, he began to let go more. Play, something that had once seemed impossible, became a part of his routine. He ran around the yard, chasing toys with enthusiasm, leaving behind, with each step, a little more of the trauma that had imprisoned him. The laughter of his new family filled the air, as Milo finally lived the life he had always deserved. By the 15th day, the transformation was evident. The little dog who had arrived scared and traumatized was now running around the house with energy, spreading joy wherever he went. His heart, once wounded and full of distrust, was now overflowing with love for the family who had given him a second chance. Milo became the center of attention, filling the house with warmth and happiness. His first walk at sunset was a moment of pure freedom. His little paws danced across the grass, and his joyful barks echoed in the air as a celebration of his new life. Every jump and playfulness was a testament to his resilience. Milo's joy and enthusiasm were contagious, and his presence brought new energy to everyone around him. In the end, Milo was not just a puppy who had been saved. He was a symbol of hope, resilience, and unconditional love. He brought happiness and a new perspective to his family, proving that with patience and care, even the most wounded hearts can heal and blossom.